Welcome everyone, I'm Alison with Continental Bead Suppliers.
We're excited to share inspiring video tutorials with you here on our YouTube channel that feature a stunning assortment of exceptionally high quality chains and findings from our extensive inventory. We pride ourselves in being a one-stop resource for aspiring and professional designers, craft and bead stores, along with dropshipping businesses. We're excited to speak with you and help you grow your business. So thanks for joining me today, and let's get started with this video.
Welcome to Tubular Triangle Earrings. We've created a bead woven embellishment for our gorgeous Acute Triangle Chandelier Earring components. This design option is a little different than the wire wrapping of beads onto the inside or outside of the frame. We hope this will appeal to bead weavers or to those of you who would just like to try another option. We're using a technique called Even Count Peyote stitch, which is relatively simple to learn, and will begin life as a flat piece of beadwork, leading to a fun visual transformation. As usual, all the links for our parts are listed in the description below. Let's begin. For tubular triangle earrings, we'll be using two Acute Triangle Chandelier Earring components. The part number is K54. Two shepherd hook French ear wires. The part number is EW5002. Now these few things here are optional, and we'll look at those later on, but if you'd like to use these, they would be about 26 inches of this beautiful cable chain. The part number is CH-819. A few jump rings. I've got 4 and 6 millimeter ones here, so the part numbers respectively are JR4 and JR6. About 2 grams in total of size 11 Delica beads. I like to use a size 12 or 13 beading needle, little stopper bead, a pair of flat nose pliers, and a pair of thread and cord cutters or sharp scissors. So as I mentioned in the introduction, we're going to be creating this little piece of beadwork in a flat format before it gets turned into the tube like this one. So it's quite easy to see how this all goes together. What we're going to be doing is 12 rows of beading that we will be ending up with. So I don't know what color would be best for you to see this. Let me see if I can move this forward a little bit. We want to have each row coming down this way with 6 beads in it. So you can see this yellow row here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the row below it, the black one, also has 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see here how each row is staggered on both sides. So it's staggered on the opposite side. This will allow you to zip up the beadwork together, so it will no longer be a flat piece of beadwork. But that's sort of jumping ahead a little bit, but I just want you to understand that each row coming down this way will have 6 beads going across. We're going to begin by cutting about a 5 foot length of the beading thread, threading it onto your needle, and then keeping it double till about 18 inches from the end, perhaps. So just something that's a workable amount for you, but you can see I've got the little tail here, and then I've got the other end of the tail here. So we'll thread on our stopper bead first of all and move it down to about 6 inches from the end. Go back up through the bead, and this is just to secure all the other beads that we're going to add, and do it one more time up through the bead. This just helps keep track of what's going on here, so you can see there's just stop there. Next thing is to pick up 26 of these delicas. So this may take a little minute here, and beads have a habit of flying around, but I'm just going to count through this. So as you can see, I've moved the 26 beads down to the stopper bead here. The next thing I'm going to do is pick up one more Delica, and this is just all random. There's no pattern to this this selection here. This was just a little mix that I had, and literally don't think too much about it. Just pick up whatever bead comes onto your needle. And ordinarily I'm working on a bead mat, but for filming it actually seems to show up better the way that I'm doing it now, but the beads do have a tendency to fly around, so just bear with me. So the next thing, I've picked up this single bead. I'm just going to move it down onto the thread, and if you can see here, I'll just zoom in on this again for you. I'm going to miss this first green bead here and hit the orange bead. So with my needle, I'm just going to go through that and draw this down. This is just the fiddly bit to get going here. What I want to do, that green bead that I just added, I want to make it stand next to its neighbor here. So you can see it's just kind of stacked next to it there. Just going back to this flat piece of beadwork for a second. You heard me referring to rows coming down this way with the 6 beads across. As I move forward in this, the rows that I'm referring to are going to be coming this way, the full length, so 26 beads down and working across that way. So let's begin. So I'm coming down through this, I'll just move that forward, down through this orange bead here. I'll just keep hold of the beadwork. And you can see how this is starting to stack together. So we've got the 5 little beads. So this is actually the second full row that I'm doing here. So I'm going to pick up another bead, skip this light green bead and go down through the yellow bead. Again, just kind of keep hold of the beadwork here. Make sure that the bead is standing up. So you can see here's another little set of 2 here. Pick up another bead, skip the kind of tealy coloured bead here and go to the second teal coloured one. So it's just skipping a bead each time when you pick the next bead up. And you can see that they're starting to fall into place here. So I'm going to continue on to the end of the row down to the stopper bead here, and I'll come back. As you can see here, I've got to the end of this second row and finished on a single orange bead here. So because I'm working from left to right, I'm a right-handed bead weaver, so I actually am going to flip this over so that the stopper bead is up at the top now. If you find that the thread is kind of ending up with these gaps here, you can just kind of push the stopper bead down a little bit. There's still movement in there just to tighten things up, so make sure everything is nice and snug down here and that all the beads are stacked nicely together. So I'm going to pick up, to start my third row, I'm going to pick up another bead. And so this little bead that's sticking out on this side, these are the areas that we're going to be filling in with the next set of beads. So I'm going down through this second bead here, so not this first orange one, but the second one. And this will start stacking 2 beads together on each row. So you can see that that's sitting there. There's 2 there and there's 2 here, but there's only 1 here, so I need to pick up another bead. Come down through the next orange one. So this little bead I'm adding is going to sit between these 2 orange beads. You can see that. Again, pick up another bead. Come down through the next one that's sticking out. So you can see now we've got 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. Pick up another. And you're just going to work your way down. So once it gets to this stage, it's much easier to hold on to the beadwork. And you can start to see a pattern developing here. Not a pattern in the beads, but just the fact that we're building the number of beads out and building our rows to the right. So I'll continue on down here and show you what we do at the end. So once again, I'm at the end of this row. I'm going to flip the beadwork over, and I'm just going to work down this side. So the working thread is just constantly coming out on the right hand side here. So picking up another bead to begin this row. You can see the little bead, the little kind of yellowy bead that's sticking out here. So go down through that. So now you can see I've got 3 beads going on here. Again, we want to fill in this gap here, so into the orange one. So I've now got 3, 2, and 3. So again, I mentioned in the beginning on this piece of beadwork, we've got to get 6 going across on each of these rows. Okay, so far I've got 3 and 2, so I still have to build these up. So I'm going to carry on with this a little bit, and I'll come back in a little while. So I'm coming down to the end of this row here, and at this point I can actually take the stopper bead off if it's in your way. You can keep it on, it doesn't really matter, but I'll actually just take this off now. It just slides down and away, so you can see what we've got going on here. So at this point on this row going across here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. On this next one, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm getting there. So we've got to build up to 6 on this and 6 on that. So I'll keep going. So here's the last bead going in on this row. We'll flip it over. So you can see here I've got 1 on this first top row here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on this next row I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means that this is going to be the last row that we need to do, because we'll then have 6 on the top and 6 on this row. So I'll begin by picking up another bead, and you'll see where this falls into place. So you can see now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I will continue on down this row and come back. So now that we've got this flat piece of beadwork done, we're actually going to just slip the frame over this. I'll start with the working thread coming out of the top here. It's just, doesn't really matter which way around, but I just find it easier this way. And you can see where there's the gaps on either side. They're on kind of opposites, sort of going to be zigzagging their way down. So we're going to be catching opposite sides of the beads with the thread as we move down. So we'll draw this together, and we're going to start on the same row that we have finished on here. So I'm going to be going into this. Let me move this to zoom, and this should be hopefully a little easier to see. So just don't get tangled up with the ear wire. So you can see that the thread is coming out here, and I want it to go down through this opposite bead. Make sure you stay on the right side of this, and you'll see it just come together. It'll take a few beads to go down. Then on this side there's a bead sticking out, so you can perhaps see it raised a little bit there, so take your thread down through that one. So that's the first bit. And then I'm going to go on the opposite side again, so I'm like down now on the third row down. This is all starting to mesh together, interlock together. You just kind of have to keep an eye on where you're going. So I'm on this left side now. I'm going to move over to the right side, so it happens to be an orange one that's sticking up next. So down there. So this is just called zipping up. Got to move back over to the left side, so it's a yellow one that's sticking up now. So you can see that coming together. Back over to the right, and it's another yellow one sticking up. Just make sure you go through one bead at a time. And you can see how this is all starting to zip together. It's like magic. So this one I've got a light green up now. Light green on the right hand side. Another light green one. Make sure you pull this sort of snug, don't snap the thread or anything, but it's pretty strong. So I'll just work down to the end, just working opposite sides. So you can see now I'm down at the last bead to connect everything together. So it's the last orange one here. And then what we need to do to secure this is I need to go back up through the orange one that happens to be on this side. And we're going to be weaving these ends in now to kind of secure. So if you can see, I'm sort of going up perhaps 3 beads here on a diagonal. You want to be hiding the threads in here, so you're sort of working kind of zigzaggy to complicate this thread path really, to secure everything. So I'm pulling the thread up there, kind of got hold of the tail, the original tail here. That'll get woven in a minute. So I want thread to be sort of hidden, so I'm going to take 3 beads this way. Just pull that up. And I'm going to come back over, we'll go back this way again. And you can sort of do this a few times. You can perhaps do 2 beads. It's whatever's easiest. That's the beauty of beading needles. They're sort of bendy and flexible. We can still carry on this way a little bit. So I've got 3 there. Pull that up. Then I'll probably come down a little bit. So I want to come across a bead. Come down this way, 3 beads, or I guess it's going through 4. If you find that your beads get a little bit tight, or it's a little bit difficult to just pull that through, you can just take your flat nose pliers, which I have to get back onto my mat again here, and just take it gently. Don't be tugging it, but just a smooth movement through like that till the eye pops through. And I'll just come down. I'll go across again, and then that'll be fine. There's no pressure on these beads, so you don't have to do a whole lot of weaving around. Just pull it through. And then I'm going to trim this end off. So let me just unthread my needle here. So I'll take my thread and cord cutters or scissors and just pull on the thread a little bit. And that way it just disappears into the piece. And then I've got to rethread the needle so that I can weave this tail in. And the way I like to do this, I'm not sure if I can do it on camera because I can't really see, but I take the flat nose pliers, like make sure that the that the end is cut like that. Take the flat nose pliers and then just give the thread a little squish to make a bit of a fan. And that hopefully is enough to go through the small eye there. Sometimes I do this first time. There we go. Just keep this down here. So I want to make sure I'm not going to be going back up the thread, the bead that I've come out of here. So I'll go over to this next one and work my way up on the diagonal. There we go. So perhaps just do 3 beads there. So again, just pull this through with the plier. I'm going to be working my way perhaps this way a little bit. Once you don't end up with your double thread there. Now I'll come across this way, just go up these orange ones. Perhaps just go up 2 or 3 here. I guess it's going to be 2. Same thing, take the thread off and use the thread and cord cutters again, or your scissors. And there we go. So let me just take this off the zoom for now. So the next thing, whoops, beads everywhere. The next thing we're going to do, if you're doing earrings with this one, make sure that the earring part here is facing the direction that you want it to go for when you apply the ear wire. So let's put this, open this up that way, pop this on. And here we have a finished pair of earrings. I just wanted to show you another option too with this chain that I mentioned at the beginning. There's so many different things that you can do, but let me just take the ear wires off here. Set this to the side. And this is for a little lariat. So I can take one of the 4mm jump rings, open that up, pop this on here, onto the end of the chain. This is a little bit longer length than I need, but it's what I had handy. You could always cut that down to about 20, perhaps 26 inches or so. It's whatever your preference is. Put this on here too. Fasten these up. And then I happen to have these little crystals around, so I'll take a 6mm ring, just open that up, slide the crystal on. I mean, literally you can put these anywhere you want. It actually looks really pretty on the end here. Like that. Same with the other 6mm ring. Really sky's the limit with all these different options that you have to create with. These could be fabulous earrings too, so you can always add little bits and pieces on here and there. But then this is a little lariat, so you would just put this around your neck and tie it on. It's going to sit at different lengths. And how pretty is that? So, as I mentioned, there's so many different ways. This is a jumping off point for this type of work on the earring components, on these chandelier components. And so many options. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please give us a thumbs up. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell, you'll be sure to receive more great content from Continental Bead Suppliers. See you next time.